the thumbnail of the video and the title is presented like this. Is Caitlin Clark the greatest of all time in college basketball? Clearly using Caitlin Clark's name to drive it, knowing that Caitlin Clark is the biggest needle mover. Not only is Caitlin Clark not even really on their list, she got removed from the list.
ESPN is at it again, another blatant act of disrespect toward Caitlin Clark while pushing their biased narratives.
How can you be a top 5 player if you have not won a title?
Do you believe Larry Bird is an all-time great college player?
Yes.
Okay, well, he didn't win it, though.
Question.
They do leave Caitlin Clark out for the simple reason of not having a championship ring.
What about getting Iowa to the championship in back-to-back years? Is that not a...
Just when you thought they couldn't sink any lower, ESPN completely left Caitlin Clark off their list of the top 5 greatest women's college basketball players of all time.
The only strike against Caitlin Clark is that she has not won a national championship. And that is the only thing that you can put against her.
Caitlin Clark took Iowa to back-to-back national championship.
And their excuse: she doesn't have a championship. Really? The same network that ranks male players as legends regardless of their title count suddenly decides that championships are the only thing that matters when it comes to Caitlin Clark.
I do find it interesting that they do tout off all her accomplishments, records that have not been broken by anybody else, and they still cannot consider her in the top 5 best.
We're not falling for the hypocrisy. In this video, we're breaking down exactly how ESPN is actively diminishing Caitlin Clark's legacy, playing favorites, and rewriting history to fit their agenda. Stay tuned as we expose their double standards one by one.
I just don't understand how you can see someone doing more with less in some aspects, but in this one, you can't see it, you can't give them credit.
ESPN's bias was on full display when they conveniently erased Caitlin Clark from their all-time top 5 list for women's college basketball. Their reasoning: no championship ring. But here's the problem: this rule has never applied to anyone else in their rankings. They've honored countless male and female players who never won a title. Yet suddenly, when it comes to Caitlin Clark, championships are the only thing that matters.
Clark is being used as like a ploy. You know, they got to put Caitlin Clark's name in the title. They got to make sure, you think you're watching something about Caitlin Clark, and then the rug is kind of pulled out when it's actually like, nah, she's not even in the top 5.
Take Oscar Robertson and Pete Maravich, 2 of the most celebrated college players in history. Neither ever won a national championship, yet ESPN had no problem ranking them among the greatest of all time. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark didn't just break records, she rewrote the history books while carrying her team to back-to-back national championship games.
That's your number one criterion. If you don't win a championship, you can't be on any list. Fine. She made the point that Caitlin has exploded the game bigger than anybody else. That's part of the significance, and I guess you could say the great.
The hypocrisy is staggering. If championships were the ultimate requirement, then why was Larry Bird, another college basketball icon without a title, ranked so highly on their lists? The truth is obvious: ESPN is holding Caitlin Clark to an entirely different standard.
Or somebody who went to a team like Iowa who did not have championship experience, who did not have stars around her. And it is undeniable that there is one player that brought Iowa to the championship that raised everybody else up around her, and her name is Caitlin.
And it gets even worse. ESPN didn't just disrespect Caitlin Clark, they outright manipulated the situation. They used her name and face to promote the segment, fully aware that she's the biggest name in women's basketball, only to leave her off the list.
Ranking players based on having a ring, a bit of an unfair way just to rank a player's.
They baited viewers into thinking Caitlin Clark would be honored alongside the greats, only to erase her from the list entirely during the discussion. This wasn't just a debate, it was a calculated move to cash in on her popularity while refusing to acknowledge her impact. ESPN is more than happy to exploit Clark's success for views, but when it's time to give her the respect she's earned, they suddenly change the criteria. Even their own analysts admitted on air that leaving her off felt wrong, acknowledging that she has dominated women's basketball like no one before her.
Love Caitlin, love how she's transcended the game. I'm not going to go away from that, but in the open, we said, what makes a top 5 player? Winning. The only strike against Caitlin Clark is that she has not won a national championship. And that is the only thing that you can put against her, because the way she has dominated the record books when she was at Iowa was something you cannot duplicate. She's a 3-time NCAA scoring leader and assist leader, a true point guard for the people, 3-time All-American, 2-time Naismith Player of the Year, 2-time AP Player of the Year, all-time leading scorer. She broke the records of Kelsey Plum and Sabrina. Like, literally, there is nobody who has been such a front-facing name. It's a direct reflection of her skill set, but how can you be a top 5 player if you have not won a title?
It's a great point, which is why
I agree with you. But instead of standing by the truth, ESPN stuck to their tired argument, one that conveniently ignores how other great players without rings have been treated. They're blatantly shifting the goalpost to downplay Caitlin Clark's greatness, refusing to acknowledge her impact, even though she has done more for women's basketball than anyone in recent memory.
Whenever anybody says, oh, she didn't win a championship, how do they respond back when you say, who else was on her team? What about getting Iowa to the championship in back-to-back years? Is that...
But why? If championships were the only measure of greatness, then why do individual awards exist? Basketball is a team sport. No single player wins a title alone. The world is watching, are you? Let us know in the comments, like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we'll see you in the next one.